Whose poop do you want in your butt? This week's episode of Office Rentals, starring
Breanne Kallonen.
Dr. Breanne Kallonen.
Okay, interview time.
All right, fecal transplants.
Ooh, we're getting right into it.
Whose poop do you want in your butt?
It actually really, it's a really big thing right now.
I know,
it really
I watched
depends.
a show about it.
It's cool, eh?
Yeah, and it worked. It helped the girl a lot.
It's amazing. So they're doing it for IBS, IBD, Crohn's, colitis. But the very interesting thing that I find most interesting is, so they're doing these fecal transplants and it's having profound effects on people's quality of life with irritable bowel disease. But if you get poop from someone who's anxious, you in turn inherit that anxiety, which is just like mind-blowing.
Anxiety from the gut.
Yeah,
That's insane. I thought that was a psychological.
No, so you can actually, your thoughts will completely change your gut microbiome within 24 hours. So if you sit there and you have negative thoughts, they've really shown in research, testing the gut microbiome, that completely changes it. So our gut talks to our brain and our brain talks to our gut. So it's really important that you include that mindset piece. Gratitude, journaling.
That is
insane, right?
Yeah, holy smokes.
Yeah, and when people say they feel like they're out of control, like something else, because I do a lot with women's health, resistant weight loss, when people tell me that they're out of control, it's really often bacteria, viruses, parasites, worms present in the gut that is changing your neurochemicals in your brain, making you crave those foods.
My God.
So anyone, if they have like severe sugar cravings, you want to look at the gut. If you have had low iron for a very long time and you're supplementing, guess what? Iron feeds bacteria cells. So you really, everything starts in the gut. You have to test and you have to know what's going on.
Wow. Now,
so cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the microbiome, science is still like just scratching the surface of it in a sense, right? So like, it's almost like, it's so vast. Like there's, what is it, like 10 billion cells?
Yeah, we're outnumbered. There's more bacteria present in our guts than human cells in our entire body.
Yeah. So for us to even fully understand what's good, what's bad, what we need, how do we help it, we're like years and years away from that, right? So,
yeah, we're just scratching the surface.
Now, with that in mind, I guess a fecal transplant is kind of our shortcut route, because we find somebody who's already got it all in a good spot, and then we don't have to worry about the 10 billion cells that are right or wrong, because this is right. Here you go, right? So it's kind of it's a very, I guess, like, yeah, it's a shortcut.
It's so cool. Like, there was a research study that looked at couples, and the researchers didn't know who was living together, or, doing your daily couple habits together. And they were actually able, with the gut flora, to predict who was in a relationship together because they shared the same environments, same bacteria. So you really, careful who you date.
Careful who you date.
Careful who you date. Careful who you swap bacteria with.
Swap bacteria with, that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very uneducated on this.
You know what? It's so new. It's so cool. Yeah, like the foods you eat impact your gut microbiome, your thoughts, whether you sleep, whether you do exercise. So exercise can completely change your gut microbiome. And when clients come to me and they're like, oh, I just take whatever probiotic, I'm like, ooh, no, like we really need to test and use specific strains, human grade strains that are supported by research, because you could have an overgrowth of lactobacillus and then you just go to the health food store and grab a lactobacillus probiotic, and that could not be right for you. So I'm so passionate about individualized approach, and you test, don't guess. Make sure you know what's going on.
Always. That's a really good, it's a popular line, test, don't guess.
Test, don't guess. And when in doubt, use food, right? Yeah. Fermented food is a great way to get your gut microbiome in check, especially sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is actually anxiolytic. So if you're struggling with anxiety, tablespoon of sauerkraut 3 to 4 times a day.
Now, it has to be like a specific kind of sauerkraut, not just the sauerkraut off the shelf,
Right. So you want to make sure that you are getting a sauerkraut that hasn't been exposed to a whole bunch of heat in the how they preserve it. So if it's being blasted by heat, there goes all your bacteria, your enzymes, your nutrients. So you just want to make sure that it is a fermentable culture for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I knew there was a difference between the two.
Get a good quality one for sure. You can make it at home too. It's really easy to ferment your own cabbage.
Fermenting cabbage.
Yeah.
Can't say I've done it.
Stinky business.
A stinky business.
But it's so good for you because cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable and they're full of sulforaphanes, which is something that I'm obsessed with, and it's amazing for detoxification, for anxiety, for cancer, for inflammation. Just, you know, broccoli seeds, cabbage, cauliflower, kale is the bomb. Every single day you should consume cruciferous vegetables.
Good. Okay, noted. Back to the microbiome a bit. I want to backpedal. Okay, so I'm under the impression that as we grow up from children and, you know, in today's society, every time we take an antibiotic or a prescription drug or have a drink of alcohol or even have some sort of processed like preservative, I guess, like chemicals, like even sucralose can affect our microbiome in the gut.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember where I heard this, but I guess there's like, we start with so many, like a female's ovulation. Like you've got so many to start, and it's just less and less. So every time you damage it, every time you ingest these foods, you're actually causing damage in the long term.
Damage or promoting growth of one bacteria over another. Some bacteria are known to be, you know, more detrimental than other bacteria. So yeah, your food choices, your sleep, your mindset, that's absolutely going to change your good and bad ratio. So you want to be careful.
Yeah, and I would almost speculate that like it's the way it's gone now. Like when you look at like us growing up, and then the generation before us, and then the generation coming up, the foods that we had access to and the foods that we were given on such a regular basis, could be the reason why we're having so many. You know, I would almost call it like a crisis where people's health is like at an all-time low.
Chronic disease,
exactly.
Living suboptimally. Yeah, and we also have to think of the desire, like this, we're too clean as a population, so we're afraid to get dirty. We're using antibacterial hand soaps. Triclosan is one of the chemicals in soaps you absolutely want to avoid because we know that does damage the gut bacteria. You know, I see kids getting bathed in antibacterial soap every single day, and I'm like, no, like the bacteria on your skin is really helpful for you. So you don't want to be too clean. You want to get dirty. You want to get sick. Like allow your immune system to live and grow, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. Same concept. We all understand the flu shot. Whether you agree with it or not is a different story.
Can't talk about the flu shot.
You understand that you're exposing your body to specific things so it can build up an immunity to it. That's how it works, right?
Exactly.
So by keeping ourselves so clean all the time, we're literally only hindering ourselves in our body's natural abilities to defend against bacteria and to function the way it's supposed to. Yeah. So back to like the children though, like I know like it's hard to say because it's still fairly new, but like the amount of processed foods and fast food and things like that, and even just like something as simple as cereal, it's like the foods that the kids are eating nowadays. Do you foresee people's health continuing to decline as we progress, or do you see us sort of getting a grip on things as a society and starting to make better choices and actually starting to kind of turn the wheel back a bit?
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more interest in the younger generation in preventative healthcare and how to optimize, but it's still a big problem. Like often we don't act upon our health until something is seriously wrong, but it's a compounding effect and it's a long game. Like the more you're putting foods in your body that are not locally grown, they don't resemble foods that we would have ate 100, 200 years ago, it becomes a really big problem. GMO is a big problem, pesticides a big problem. The fact that our grains are fortified with folic acid is a really big problem. Really, I love a whole foods diet, autoimmune paleo style. The more basic you can get, the better. I mean, you should see the conventionally raised meats. They're filled with hormones and estrogens. And one thing, we only ever consume female meat. We never consume male meat. So from like an energetic hormone perspective, it's something to really consider, you know.
Is that true?
Yeah, like we'll think of wild meat, that's boar, elk, those are more likely to be male meats. Cows, female, chickens, female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about
all
that.
this estrogen dominance. And we can see it, like you look into a population of males, and even lean males are developing breast tissue. So we know that estrogens in our environment are a really big problem. Gut bacteria. So backtracking, linking this back to the gut. So there are a population of gut bacteria that will actually recycle estrogens. So if you have too much beta-glucuronidase in your gut, which you can test with a genetic stool test, then you're more likely to recycle those estrogens, estrogen dominance. So that's something called calcium D-glucarate, can really help with that. In addition to like changing your environment, changing your foods to promote a healthier gut bacteria.
So it, like, by recycling your estrogen, it means that
You're
your
more
body
likely
is still producing it, but that's continuing to recirculate.
Yeah, exactly. And
Totally.
a lot so males don't typically produce a lot of estrogen. What happens is fat tissue is metabolically active. That's going to produce estrogen. Your gut bacteria is going to recycle your estrogen, and we're getting exposed to so much estrogens in our environment. So plastic water bottles, don't consume plastic water bottles. Meat, conventionally raised meat, full of estrogens. Plastics, so even touching receipts, that gets into your hands. That's right on your skin. The creams you use will mimic estrogen. Soaps, lotions, we have it in our air, the pollution. It's overwhelming the amount that we are exposed to, especially in our water. Yeah, there's birth control, hormones, estrogens in our water like crazy. So clean,
And it's
filtered
just not
water.
working hard enough, I guess, eh?
It's
There's
no.
still lots of kids everywhere.
No, yeah, but it's crazy. It's crazy. And like people underestimate the power of estrogen modulating compounds that we're putting on our skin. So if you get artificial hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, a lot of it comes in creams.
Yeah.
So if you can put a cream on your body, a little tiny small amount, and that can completely change your blood hormone levels. If you are lathering a cream all over your body that mimics estrogen, it's going to be a really big problem.
Now, how effective are those creams in terms of like hormone manipulation? So I've heard mixed reviews about, let's say, topical testosterone like creams. So what are your opinions on those?
It all depends on how metabolically active you are and what your age. There's so many factors in determining that. Your age, what your natural levels are, why you're using this. But creams can be really effective. There's multiple different ways to manage your hormones.
Would like the location you're putting it be a huge issue?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that it's typically the groin, underarms that you're putting these creams, but you definitely want to speak with a practitioner about using those for sure.
Okay, sweet. I want to keep talking about the gut because it's such like a huge topic, and there's like so much that it ties into.
Yeah.
In terms of like even just like we were saying, the foods you eat and how it affects it, that in turn will affect how your body responds to, you know, certain types of stimulus, like with exercise or, you know, high intensity interval training or low intensity training. Like the gut can really kind of impact everything, I guess, right? So,
well, we know that a large portion of your thyroid hormone, so we have inactive thyroid hormone T4, which is primarily what is produced in the body from the thyroid gland. A big percentage of that gets converted to the active T3 in the gut. We know that serotonin is produced in the gut. Like there's so many hormones that rely on adequate gut health. So happiness, metabolism, you know, thyroid hormone manages so many different things throughout the body. If you don't have enough of that, you're going to be really struggling.
what if somebody had their thyroid removed? So how would their thyroid's been removed? They're now on prescription thyroid. Like,
Yep, Synthroid or desiccated. Yeah.
Yep. How would their gut be?
Change?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So Synthroid is T4, the synthetic form of T4. T4 is the inactive. It still needs to get converted to active T3. So if you're on Synthroid, we want to be doing everything that we can to make sure that T4 is being converted to T3. So that's all about managing gut health, making sure your nutrients are not deficient. Things like selenium, iodine, iron, you need all of those for conversion. And what typically happens is conventional medicine will only test TSH. If you're on Synthroid, you're lucky if you get TSH and T4 tested. There is nothing that's looking at the active T3. So when I do a thyroid panel, I look at T4, T3, I look at your antibodies, your TSH, we look at all your nutrients to get a really good comprehensive picture. The other aspect of thyroid is reverse T3. So if you're stressed, your active thyroid hormone is going to go to reverse T3, which is more of like an inactive preservation hormone. So if you're looking to lose weight, gain muscle mass, overall health, and you're on desiccated, make sure you're having comprehensive lab testing done.
Now, so when you mentioned when you do like a panel for somebody's thyroid, you're checking their T3, their T4, and everything else. Is that so you can see, I guess, where their like benchmarks are for their things that convert T4 to T3, and how much T4 is present, how much T3 is actually?
Yeah, like we want to know for low thyroid, is this, are thyroid antibodies present? So that tells me that there's an autoimmune condition going on, and that I treat a little bit different than, okay, maybe you just have low T3, so your active T3 is low. Okay, why is that low? Is it stress? What's your reverse T3 like? If reverse T3 is fine, we're looking at, okay, there's a conversion issue. So your T4 is not being converted to T3. And then we'll just do things like, B1, selenium, iron, like looking into all of those nutrients to see where you might be lacking and how we can get your body converting a little bit better.
Okay. And then, so back to somebody who may not have a thyroid. What's your best advice to them in terms of just maintaining a healthy lifestyle, perhaps even weight loss?
Yeah, my biggest advice would be to continue to get that conventional medicine testing. And if you had your thyroid removed because of an autoimmune condition, if you had Hashimoto's or Graves', those are two types of autoimmune thyroid conditions. We know that once you have one autoimmune condition, you're more likely to develop another one. So it's really important to be on like an autoimmune paleo type diet, look at the gut. Is there any pathogens present in your gut that maybe triggered the autoimmune disease? We know that things like Klebsiella are more likely to be found in people with Hashimoto. So it's not, there's no evidence to say like you have Klebsiella, you're absolutely going to get thyroid disease, but we do know that they are associated. So even if you've gone the route, you've want your thyroid's removed, we still need to see, okay, what's going on in the gut, what predisposed you to getting autoimmunity, and how do we prevent autoimmune disease in the future?
It's really good information.
Yeah, it's really important. And then you need to see too, right? It's if you're on desiccated thyroid, or you're on Synthroid, or you're on Cytomel, whatever combinations you're on, you want to do that complete testing. And if you are not feeling good, if you still have those symptoms, get a second opinion, because some people do really well on Synthroid, some people do really well on Cytomel, whereas other people need to go over to the desiccated or the Armour thyroid to actually feel better. Yeah, so it's all individualized, and it depends, like just because you're within that range of normal thyroid, that might not be optimal for you. So combining your story with your labs, I find, is really important, because quote unquote normal does not mean optimal, does not mean thriving.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree with that a lot. And even to be within the normal range, they're testing T4, right? So that's not meaning that it's actually converting and being used properly.
Yeah,
so
the traditional conventional labs are, do you fit within the 95% of the population? Those lab values are constantly changing as our population gets sicker and sicker. It is, it's 2018, you deserve high quality functional medicine testing so that we can make sure that you're optimal. It's very rare that you see problems on those panels, because they're just like, what do you need to be to prevent disease? And health is just not about the prevention of disease, it's about thriving and feeling optimal and getting into those functional ranges, not just those lab ranges. So get with a functional medicine practitioner, a naturopathic doctor who can order these functional medicine testings, because so often clients will come to me and like, no, my labs are normal, they're normal. And then we do a proper functional medicine testing, and it's like, no, they're not normal. And thank goodness we did that, because then like we don't have to wait. You can pick up autoimmune thyroid disease up to 10 years before TSH becomes effective.
Really?
So yeah, people struggle for a long time.
Holy smokes.
They just think, low energy is normal, fatigue is normal, hair loss is normal. It's like, no, this is a big problem. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And just to go back to what you're saying about the 95% range that these lab tests try to put you into, or try to land you in, I guess.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the recommended daily, like the food pyramid type thing, right? Like for calories. So recommended 2,000 calories a day, but their recommendations for your vitamins, your calories, things like that, it's a bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily meaning that's optimal for performance or health, but rather it's just a bare minimum. You're good enough, okay? It's a bare minimum based off of the current population. So just recently, the ferritin levels, so the storage form of iron, now the lower limit is 10. For proper hair growth, 50, 70 is even better. So, as our population gets lower and lower in these nutrients, they just change the reference ranges. And it's like, okay,
why was 10 not okay yesterday, but now it's okay? It's completely ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
You could be feeling so much better.
Everyone can feel so much better.
Yes.
Okay. I'm kind of stuck here.
Stuck out of questions?
I'm kind of out of
We've been going for 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you want to end it there?
Cool. Sure. How can people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold of me through the Wild Side Wellness, which is an online community group. We also have a clinical practice in Kindersley, Saskatchewan and Guelph, Ontario, and November 12th, the Wild and Free book is coming out. It's right there. Go grab it. So doing a shameless plug, my book, Wild and Free, How to Reclaim Your Health Naturally, everything you need to know about gut health, fasting, autoimmune condition, diet, exercise, mindset, sleep is compiled into this book right here. It's like your desktop manual for overall health, hormone, weight loss management, energy too.
Awesome.
Amazon.com and Amazon.ca.
And it's on sale for how much?
99 cents.
99
the Kindle.
cents.
November 12th only though.
November 12th only.
Yeah.
So mark it in your calendars.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.